tonight I will be talking about medical marijuana in pediatrics. My proposition is medical marijuana has benefits as a treatment for children with diseases and disorders. The three topics I will be talking about are benefits with kids, for kids who have cancer, for kids who have epilepsy, and is it also effective for autistic children. So before I get to my points, I will go over some definitions that will help understand throughout the points. So medical marijuana is the whole unprocessed plant of cannabis. Cannabinoid is a chemical from the plant that acts on the body cells. Tetrahydrocannabinol, also THC, is the chemical with the psychological effects. Cannabidiol is CBD, which is also the chemical of that has medical benefits. Epidiolex is the purified oil-based CBD extract, and cannabinoid receptors are receptors in the body that affect appetite, mood, pain sensation, and memory. So first, benefits for children with cancer. So it reduces the effects of chemotherapy because during and after chemotherapy, children experience nausea and vomiting, so that reduces the amount that they experience, and it also reduces the pain, which leads them to not take as many pain meds as they usually do. It also helps kill cancer cells. According to the National Cancer Institute, studies in mice and rats have shown that cannabinoids may inhibit tumor growth by causing cell death, blocking cell growth, and blocking the development of blood vessels needed by tumors to grow. Laboratory animal studies have shown that cannabinoids may be able to kill cancer cells while protecting normal cells. So So my second point, it helps children who have epilepsy. For treatments with epilepsy, they use Epidiolex, which is, as I mentioned, the CBD extract, and the Epidiolex helps reduce the amount of seizures that children experience. Results published in the Lancet Neurology of a study with 214 people who received Epidiolex in an open label study without placebo control, and who completed 12 weeks or more on the drug. So in the study, these people who received Epidiolex ranged from about 2 to 26-year-olds with an average age of 11. They all had epilepsy that did not respond to current available treatments. During the study, seizures decreased by an average of 54%, which is a dramatic statistic. The drug, the FDA is the association that approves what drugs can be used for medical reasons. And so the FDA has given some epilepsy centers permission to use this drug as compassionate use, but it's also open to research, researching into more to give it to all the centers. I have a family friend who has a daughter who has had epilepsy since she was about 2, and right now she's 8, and so she's had epilepsy since she was 2, and during that time she has gone to the hospital several times, and each visit she's in there for weeks at a time because of all the amount of seizures that she has, and they can't control it from home. So they switched her, since her body wasn't taking the other treatments, they switched her to Epidiolex, and since then her seizures have gone down dramatically. There was a period of time, 100 days, where she did not have any seizures whatsoever. So it is an effective drug. And my last point is that it's also useful for autistic kids. It alters signaling in the nervous system and the cannabinoid receptors to calm the nerves, and reduces the amount of outbursts that they have and the amount of aggression that autistic kids usually have. An example is one 6-year-old boy with autism treated with daily dronabinol for 6 months was noted to have improvement in hyperactivity, irritability, lethargy, stereotype behaviors, and speech as measured by the ABC, which is the aberrant behavior checklist. So like I had mentioned, medical marijuana has benefits for children with diseases such as cancer, epilepsy, and autism.
I'm gonna start with the delivery issue just because we need to change it up every once in a while. Especially at the start of the speech when you're trying to establish some credibility with the audience, it really is helpful if you know your material, don't have to read, and can look at people directly in the eye. And you are looking down and reading quite a bit at the beginning of the speech. And I know that sometimes people need to do that for the comfort and because they're a little bit anxious, but it really, I think, undercuts your authority as a speaker on the subject that you can't even get started without having to read. I do think that it's pretty well organized. You have a clear statement of what your proposition is. The preview was a little bit rushed. It seemed like all three of the secondary claims that you're going to be talking about got stuck in one sentence, but the topics were distinct, so that was fine. I'm a little unclear about the controversy. It sounds like an informative speech to a large degree. Are there people who are challenging or deny that it has any of these particular benefits? The one place where there might be some controversy is if the FDA had turned these things down, but it sounds to me like, especially on that second point, that the FDA is in the process of investigating this and allowing people to do research on it. So where is the dispute and what is it that you need to argue about? On the first point, you don't have any of the evidence that talks about the relief during nausea for chemotherapy. You describe what it's supposed to do, but you don't have any evidence on it. What you have is evidence about tumor inhibiting factors based on animal research. So there's no information specific to the stuff that you started with, and there's none that talks about treatment of children with these things who are undergoing chemotherapy or radiation treatments. And I think that's the information that's missing the most in that first point. On the second point, I think that you have some good information talking about how it's supposed to work. And you've got a couple of very good examples to illustrate the point. Plus, there's a research study that suggests that there's an impact with a little bit of statistic on it. But here's another one of those places, like I said, where it seems like the controversy is missing because the FDA has approved it for compassionate use and is allowing people to do research on it. So where's the controversy? You're making an inference, but I'm not sure that there's a lot of challenge to that particular inference at this point. And then on the third point on autism, this is, I think, a place where there is a need for a lot more evidence. You've got one child who had a decrease in the ABC criteria that are being used, and that's about all the proof that you have on this point, and that feels very sketchy. All right, thank you.